Back to SS Street Fighter. Today we're going to discuss my previous life when I had more options available. And when I was working on this project, the Human Destiny game, this project has been the most rewarding project of my life. Even though it ended in not producible game, how much I learned on my journey to build that game was remarkable. So I started with just a vague idea. I was like, alright, we're going to start as hunter-gatherers. And then what we're going to do is you conquer the map as hunter-gatherers. Then the whole map shrinks and you're at the center of a new map. And that's your city-state map. And so once you conquer all the city-states, then you have a country map. And once you conquer all the countries, then you have a planet map. And once you've conquered the planet, then you'd have like a solar system map. And there were supposed to be more stages, going all the way up to the conquest of the Milky Way galaxy. So it was a really broad idea. And one of the first criticisms I heard from it is scope creep. Scope creep means that there's just so much stuff involved with the scope of your game that you can't collect and navigate your way through all of it. So they said this game had scope creep, and they were totally right, but I had to learn that the hard way. So I got a group of 10 people together initially. Most of them were my friends and whatnot. And we started design work in, I think it was February of 2012. And we kept doing design meeting after design meetings. Heard a lot of really off-the-wall stuff. And we had one of our artists, Relea, record everything that went on in the meeting. And then after that, we tried to make a GDD out of it. So my plan was to be project manager, and I actually got a design major to be the head designer. The problem is our head designer, or our design major, couldn't really do anything at all. We were like, are you going to write up that GDD, man? And he was like, I don't know how. And so I wound up writing the entire GDD myself. And that was in April. But it was a big conflict that almost took my project. My project almost died so many times, it's not funny. But basically, after I wrote the GDD, initially most people were like, well, I'm not sure. And so I was like, I asked one of them, because he's like, I don't think any of my ideas were in there. And I asked him, I was like, so what are your ideas? Because I could put them in there. And he was just like, you know what, never mind, I can't think of anything. I'm just mad that my ideas weren't there, even though I can't remember what they were. And so that was kind of a problem. The weird thing is, when I went and talked to them individually, they were like, you know what, you're right, let's just move on to start programming. But then, one of my other guys who was supposed to be on programming, Willie, who also still has a call out, he was taking over the group. See, when I talked to them, they were like, okay, we're cool with this. And then when he talked to them, they were up in arms, like, yeah, we have more design stuff. And like, I had told them that I had told them that we were going to start programming, and whatever we finish programming, we're not going to redesign. So there was tons and tons of room available to change the design. We actually started programming just to make a grid. Making an 81 by 81 grid was a remarkable challenge, and it took us like 6 months just to do that. But anyways, what I said was, anything that doesn't get changed before it's programmed stays the way it's programmed. And that got them all up in arms. Even though they had 6 more months to like modify things, they didn't understand the concept of that. So that drove the group apart a lot. But Willie quit, and after Willie quit, everyone else just was like, okay, let's keep doing stuff now. So we had our artist. I had a lead artist, but she wouldn't keep track of the other artists. Basically, they had no leadership, so I had to be lead artist just to make sure that they drew anything. And they did. Relia drew this wonderful poster. I did the write-up over here. And this is the best evidence that our project was successful. I actually have the game, but I can't play it because it only runs off of a compiler. And I haven't paid to update my status on that compiler. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the project. So that only brings us up through the first semester. There were quite a few more things on this project. So the summer semester, we worked more and more. We made a few changes to the GDD. We lost our head programmer. Our head programmer decided that he had another project he'd rather do. And so that made me stuck as lead programmer. And so I tried to get other programmers to help out. I was looking for someone else to be a lead programmer because I was only in my 3rd semester of doing programming at all. So anyways, what wound up happening was I got a bunch of people who would volunteer, but then like 1 or 2 weeks later they would just quit. And managing the schedule, trying to figure out the best times to meet that would accommodate everyone else's schedule, that was just like a programming project in itself. And the problem was people kept quitting. So our project, during the time when we had lots of people on it, was actually moving very slow because hold on, I'm sorry. The project, sorry, I forgot. Okay, so what happened at the end of the summer semester is that I ran out of money to do UAT for the fall semester. And I wound up taking a whole year off of UAT and coming back in the fall. So for the most part, the project looked like it was canceled for about 6 months. But the artists were still trying to get their senior innovation project, basically the project that you have to do to graduate. They were still getting it from this. And so I just had them finish drawing out the list of sprites that I had asked for, which are like tiny little pictures of what's going on in the game. They drew all of those. And they handed them to me. And I almost decided that I was going to transfer to ASU. But at the last minute, I decided to come back to UAT. And so I needed to finish my project, and I needed to finish my project fast. And when programming as a group, we had created the entire grid, the 81 by 81, and we had started populating it. But it was so hard to coordinate between everyone and all their different projects that basically we were just showing up to say, hey, this is where we're at, and maybe getting like one little thing done and being like, okay, we got to go back to our other stuff. So one of the problems with it was the time delay of transmitting information between different people on the programming team. So what I did is I actually came back, couldn't find my team, they were already gone, and just decided to program all by myself. So the month before the month before fall of 2013, I was programming my project. And I programmed hard. I woke up every morning, did nothing but work on my project, went to sleep, got up the next day. And doing it every day was actually better than coming back to it at different times because there were so many little details about the game that interwork with each other that you need to be thinking about those a lot. So just not being in school and working on the project full time is what helped me get it done. I actually finished programming it. I even figured out the algorithm for like shrinking the map after you create each level. Now, unfortunately, I only did 2 levels. This is supposed to be an 8-stage game. I covered Hunter-Gatherer and City-State, and those are the only 2 ones I did. But that was my game. It was a lot of hard work, and I just wanted to talk about it for a full 10 minutes because it's the most rewarding accomplishment of my life to this day. The end.